bringing the latest technology to your home. The Swipe Report on Sky News is sponsored by Currys PC World and Ring.
This is Swipe, coming up on this week's show.
Yorkshire!
Northern powerhouse, the success of Yorkshire's games industry. I look at the build-it-yourself codable and wearable gadget for kids. And we return to the Empire of Isles in our games review.
Welcome to Swipe. We're at a school in East London this week because I'm about to join a group of under 12s learning to code with a toy you can wear. But before then, we're going to head to Yorkshire, where Chris has been finding out how the region's games industry has been making a mark on the global scene.
The Broken Sword series is one of the world's most well-known adventure game franchises. It was made by York-based studio Revolution Software, co-founded by Charles Cecil in 1990.
Our mission was very much to write narrative-based games, adventure games. And so all the Broken Sword games have always had a very rich historical background, based on authentic history, which I get passionate about, and I try and convey why it's so rich and why it's so exciting in our stories.
It's one of the many local success stories being celebrated at the first ever Yorkshire Games Festival. The event in Bradford's been launched to pay tribute to the region's games industry.
The Yorkshire region is absolutely thriving for games production. In fact, 9% of the UK games industry is based in Yorkshire, and that's growing. We've got companies in this region that are very, very well established.
Yorkshire and the Humber boasts more than 140 active game studios, many of which are internationally acclaimed. Other iconic titles developed in the region include the Worms franchise and the latest instalment of LittleBigPlanet. But it's not all about past success here. Sheffield Hallam University has its own commercial studio, where students get real-world experience of making and publishing their own games.
If you go back 20, 30 years, it didn't require as much technical knowledge to make a game as it does now. There's an awful lot that students are expected to know. So the Stillman Studio was set up exactly for the purpose of helping students to bring games to market, but particularly on platforms like PlayStation, where it's not actually easy to do that if you haven't got the commercial access to the platforms. So in the studio we've been able to work with Sony to actually create and release our own games on the PlayStation Network.
So what advice does an industry veteran have for budding games designers?
Please, please, please be original. Don't just say it's a first-person shooter, but come up with something, particularly if you want to write your own games, that feels really innovative, that feels different. And you look at a game, say like Angry Birds, which has been an absolute phenomenon from Rovio. Rovio had written 52 games, which had all failed before they came up with Angry Birds.
The rise of mobile gaming is helping the region. Nearly 2/3 of the studios here are publishing titles for that platform. London and the South is still the dominant force when it comes to the UK's games industry. But with Yorkshire seeing a 60% growth in the number of studios over the past 5 years,
Yorkshire!
There's lots of positivity about the future. Chris Creegan, Sky News.
Stay with us, still to come. I'll be learning how to use this. It's a wearable for children that responds to movement. That's coming right up after a roundup of this week's tech news.
Donald Trump's election win led to a surge in the price of Bitcoin. Investors flocked to the digital currency following uncertainty in the stock market, which drove up its value by around 3%. A robot has set a new Rubik's Cube record. The Sub-1 Reloaded solved the puzzle in just 637 milliseconds. Compare that to the current human record of 4.74 seconds. The robot's creators hope the technology will help self-driving cars detect and respond to obstacles quickly. The first Hyperloop transport system looks set to be built in Dubai. The technology, which is the brainchild of Tesla founder Elon Musk, will use vacuum-sealed pods and electric propulsion. The plan is to cut the 90-mile journey from Dubai to Abu Dhabi to just 12 minutes. And a World War II veteran has used virtual reality to return to the town he helped liberate from the Nazis. 91-year-old Frank Mouquet revisited the French town of Armentières, where he got to hear from residents and received a medal from the town's mayor.
Fantastic.
Where eagles dare. Stick around for our games review, but first.
Right, time now to find out how this works. Its creator has come down to the school to talk to us about it today, and some of the kids are having a go too. This is Bethany. Hello everyone. Hi. You've all gone very quiet, I noticed. Bethany, talk to us about this.
So this is the Mover Kit. It's the latest toy that we've created, which is a collection of toys that kids have to make and code themselves.
Through it. Can I come and chat to you guys while Bethany explains the process as well?
So straight out of the box, you can see that you're presented with a circuit board, a case, and some accessories. And so essentially kids can assemble and create their own wearable. So they put the pieces together, they put it in the case, and then they're able to turn it on, and straight out of the box, it unleashes lights.
So what have you guys been doing with it?
We've mostly been on the bike setting. So if you move it that way, as you can see, it will turn red, and then if you move it that way, it will turn white. So this one is for the front of the bike, and then that one is for the back of the bike.
You can put it as a choker, you can put it on
my favourite.
A hair accessory. Although, I don't know if you made it for that. Did you, Bethany?
Well, we made it for use of anything, so...
If a parent bought this for their child, does the parent have to know how to code?
No. We don't expect parents or kids to have any prior experience with coding or with technology.
And what do you say to people who reckon the kids coding toy market is getting a little bit overcrowded right now?
The more opportunities we give kids to actually be engaged and producing with tech, the better. We have a really interesting stat that we share. 65% of kids in primary school, their jobs do not exist yet. So they're going to have to invent their jobs. And programming is going to be one of those skills that they need, but they need to have confidence around tech and what they can do with it.
What about the parts? Will they become obsolete really quickly?
They're super universal components, so LEDs, a motion sensor, accelerometer, which is in every single mobile device, and a compass. So they're not about obsolete parts, they're about universal parts that can help kids invent with tech.
And you're going to make one for adults? Because I could do with a toy to teach me how to code.
We've had lots of parents in the testing sessions invent funny games with whisking eggs, and there were a few drinking games which were quite funny. So I think there is an opportunity for parents to be a part of the journey.
Now time for this week's games review, and we're stepping into the shoes of a supernatural assassin. Here's Lucy.
The big release this week is Dishonored 2. So Dishonored came out in 2012, and it was a game that was heavily inspired by classic stealth titles like Thief, and it had this incredible art style, and now the sequel is set 15 years after the original game, and you can play as the protagonist from the first game, so you can play as Corvo Attano, the Empress's bodyguard / assassin, or you can play as Emily Caldwin, who is the little girl from the first game. It's a brand new sort of world. So in the first game, you were in the city of Dunwall, which was heavily inspired by Edinburgh, Victorian London. Now we're going to Karnaca, which is by the sea. It's a lot more colourful, and yet there's a load of ways you can get around it. You can leap over buildings, you can walk in the shadows, and you can assassinate your targets. So Dishonored has a really great method of playing. So you get these sort of pseudo-magical powers. So you can, as Emily, you can chain enemies together. So if you kill one of them, they all have the same fate, so you'll kill all of them. And the great thing about Dishonored is that these powers link together in some ways that you can't really predict. And half the fun of the game is just going through and mixing up your powers to take out targets in pretty unusual ways. Eagle Flight is a PlayStation VR game from Ubisoft. So in Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed games, you know, the eagle is a big, strong emblem, a motif that they use. And so in Eagle Flight, you play as an eagle. So you've got the PlayStation VR headset on, and you're looking through the eyes of an eagle. And it takes place in a dilapidated city of Paris, so nature's taken over again, and there's also a really cool multiplayer aspect of it. So it's basically a capture the flag mode, so you and your team are against another team of eagles, and you have to sort of capture the flag and get it back to your base. But you can also sort of screech at the enemy team, which is sort of like an attack mode. It's quite interesting. It's a sort of a new take on VR. It's interesting to see if it takes off, but it's a cool experience. You should try it. Robinson the Journey is another VR game. It's made by Crytek, who are very famous for making the Far Cry games, Crysis, and of course the Cry engine, which is a very powerful, very beautiful looking engine. So they've put that in their brand new game, Robinson the Journey, to create this sort of tropical world that you can explore in full 360. It's basically Robinson Crusoe, but with dinosaurs and with artificial intelligence. So you have like a little robot friend and also a little pet dinosaur, which is quite cool. It's pretty much the classic tale of Robinson Crusoe. You play as a young boy called Robin. Your ship crash lands on this planet and you're sort of left to explore and try and survive. And it's in VR, so it's a very immersive experience. You walk around, you solve puzzles. And it's just another very cool use of VR. And now that PlayStation VR is out, it's something that people should be trying.
Well, that's it for this week, but if you enjoyed the show, you can watch any of our Swipe episodes in our YouTube playlist. Just type in Sky News Swipe. We'll be back next week. Hope you can join us then. Bye-bye.
Bringing the latest technology to your home. The Swipe Report on Sky News is sponsored by Currys PC World and Ring.